Are you ready for baseball? The 2021 MLB regular season begins on April 1st and goes all the way through the World Series in November, giving fans over 200 days of baseball action. To help you have a profitable baseball season, WagerTalk has taken our top 2 handicappers and combined them in an amazing combo deal. The number 1 MLB overall all-time is Brian Leonard, and the number 1 MLB totals all-time is Dwayne Bryant. MLB through the World Series is priced at $10.95 per handicapper. $8.95 for early bird pricing. But right now you can lock in the number 1 MLB all-time overall and number 1 MLB all-time totals handicapper for the price of 1. Lock in both Brian Leonard and Dwayne Bryant's baseball selections through the World Series in November for only $8.95.
Well, welcome everyone to WagerTalk Today. I'm Lawrence Presman. Teddy Covers still taking a little bit of a break. Steve Merrill joining us. And Steve, I love doing the show with you. How are you, my friend? How did last night go?
Yeah, I'm doing well, Prez, and we got the audio working, the mics working today. Yesterday was an adventure, but it was a fun show, so I appreciate Teddy agreeing to take one extra day off, rest and relax a little bit more so I could have a little more fun with you. We could get a full show in together today on Wednesday. I'm losing track of the days already. It's a Wednesday, last day of March, Prez. That means baseball's around the corner tomorrow. April Fools, no April Fools. It starts tomorrow.
Dude, I don't want March to end. I mean, frankly, this has been the best gambling month of my entire life, dude. I mean, it's absolutely awesome what is going on. I have won 74 and lost 39 games in the month of March. That's 66%. 79 and 74 and 39. And man, I hope I keep taking it into April. Look, I was the second most profitable handicapper in baseball last year. So I'm really looking forward to the baseball season starting tomorrow. I will be treading very lightly at the beginning of the baseball year as the sort of trends and angles start to materialize. But yeah, dude, it's been an outstanding month to say the least. Fun games last night. We'll talk about both of them with Kelly Stewart, and we're going to look ahead to the Final Four. Kelly is on right away. After Kelly, we've got Arthur DiCesare and then a surprise guest at the end of the show for just a real quick 4 or 5 minute segment. Kelly, you and I spoke on the phone yesterday. You told me you were betting the Rangers. Bold play, but congratulations, a nice 5-2 win. I was guessing, I was watching the UCLA-Michigan game last night, and I mean, Michigan gave that game away. Look, their defense played outstanding down the stretch. They needed to hold UCLA. They held them 4 or 5 times in a row and just couldn't answer with a bucket. They just needed one. It was a fun game, but all I was thinking was Kelly's got UCLA on the money line.
Yes, I did, Prez.
Yeah,
I knew it. Full disclosure.
Full
disclosure. I took the 9 with USC. I tweeted out, I dropped 8.5, and I tweeted out, you know what? This sucks. I shouldn't have. I think I tweeted out, you play stupid games, you win stupid prizes, because I was so upset that I didn't bet the 9. And then somebody tweeted me, hey, Stations has a 9. You better go get it. Sure enough, drove there, put in the bet, and immediately regretted betting USC within about the first 3 minutes of the game. But I did have UCLA. UCLA was my favorite bet yesterday, +7. I did lay 115 to get it, and then it ended up going there anyway. Sometimes those type of things happen. But I did have them on the money line. I did take them in the second half. It was nice because I lost a lot of money betting on Michigan this last couple of weeks. So to be able to get some of that back was refreshing. I do feel bad, though, for Johnny Detroit losing on his birthday in the Elite Eight.
Johnny didn't lose on his birthday. Prez called the restaurant and paid the entire bill. That's a win.
Aww, that is a win.
You covered both Big Macs. Both Big Macs and the Whoppers? Or just one, his meal?
Steve, Johnny and his gorgeous wife, Johnny hit way over his head with Paula. Johnny and his gorgeous wife drove to Indianapolis. I have no idea how far that is from Detroit. They had dinner at St. Elmo's Steakhouse. Each steak was a bare minimum of about $60 plus alcohol, plus this, plus that. I have no idea how
Canadian
much the bill
or
was. American, Kelly.
I would
oh,
hope it
okay.
was that got even more expensive.
Yeah, I
hopefully,
mean,
with the conversion.
it was an expensive restaurant. I don't know how much the bill was, but I do know that if he knew I was paying ahead of time, it would have been double.
Oh,
Well,
I
you're
mean, I
telling
wish
me
you
that
would
he
have
went
told
to
me on the phone. Sorry, Steve. I would have texted him
No,
and
go
like, hey, I just heard that Prez was going to pay it. Get the Opus One.
Yeah.
I'm
the
just trying to
Wagyu.
figure out it. He went to Indianapolis where the Final Eight or the Elite Eight and the Final Four is happening. He went to Indianapolis to go to dinner, not
Me
not for
again? Oh,
basketball.
Kelly.
So I'm really confused now. It reminds me of that Charles Barkley commercial, Kelly, where Barkley's going to the Annapolis in Maryland instead of Indianapolis in Indiana. I'm almost wondering if that's what happened and Johnny had Prez pay a bill for somebody else here. But Kelly, I got to ask you real quick
Yeah.
though: was that a play on UCLA or a play against Michigan for you last night, or a little bit of both, maybe?
It was a little bit of both. I just thought Michigan had really exceeded expectations. I made the game 5, so took the 7, was very happy to do so. I thought it was going to be a close, hard-fought game, and at the end it was. Luckily, the spread didn't come into play, and I had that as a nice, easy cash. But you know me, whenever I bet some of those close dogs, I have to sprinkle on the money line, especially in the NCAA tournament. These games have been so great. There have been so many awesome underdogs to cash outright, and there's been several that I didn't bet on the money line that I was kicking myself. And so last night I said, you know what, 270 with UCLA, it's worth a chance here. And they got me the cash. No fault from Michigan there with the air ball 3. I'll take that and run because I was on the flip side with UCLA when they gave that same exact 3 to Alabama.
Yeah.
Yep.
You know, I'll tell you, that guy is not going to sleep. I mean, that was an embarrassing 3-point attempt, to say the least. Kelly Stewart joining us, everybody. Steve Merrill sitting in for Teddy Covers. We're going to look at the Final Four. Before we get into that, I just want to make mention, Brian Leonard and Dwayne Bryant, they have a baseball combo up at WagerTalk.com. Today is the final day for that combination. It is 890. What?
Fantastic
Okay, sorry
offer.
guys. I got Joe yapping in my ear. Anyway, $895 for both. So head over to WagerTalk.com, grab that promotion. Brian Leonard's amazing at baseball sides. Dwayne Bryant is amazing at baseball totals. $895. You get both of them. Let's get into it, Kelly. Look, the tournament just never disappoints. I mean, it's amazing drama, and we're getting it game in and game out. We're going to the Final Four. I don't know when the last time there was a -14 in this kind of a spot, but Gonzaga at -14, Baylor at -5. Let's start with the Baylor-Houston game. I mean, for me, and we'll speak about it, I don't know if you have an opinion, but for me, I look at this and I think, you know, I'm not interested in the side, but 1.5 seems like a very low total for me with a game that Baylor is involved in. Both teams can easily get into the high 70s in this type of a game. That's where I'm looking. Kelly, what about you?
Yeah, Prez, I have Ken Palm open right now because I have such a good job with the adjusted efficiencies, the tempos, things of that nature when you have two teams that never play each other, right? So we spoke about, mid-February, and I said, look, I really focus on the Big 12 and the Big 10 because there are so many college basketball teams. This is a Houston team. I did not watch a single game until maybe 3 weeks ago with this team. It just wasn't something that this team wasn't on my radar. My boyfriend Brett said, hey, I like this Houston team. I'm going to bet a futures on them to win the whole thing. Look, if they can get to the Final Four, maybe the national championship game, you can find a nice hedge opportunity. So I started looking at them a little bit more. Come to find out, some of the coaching tree is close to home and Kansas State. So I happen to keep an eye. I think this Houston team has some real promise here. Ken Palm has this game 72-71. Won't buy too much into that, but I do think that this Baylor team showed that against Villanova and against Arkansas that they could turn up the heat. As you mentioned, you said you think this is going to be a mid-70s, high 70s game. You do not want any part of the under. The first half unders, as we all know, have been really great this year, but this is not any part of an under I want either. So I'm going to leave this one alone. You got to come over to bet on it here in about an hour, and we'll call it an hour and a half from now, and I will give you my best bet on this game.
So wait a minute. Hold on, Steve. Steve, I know you're supposed to come in here, but hold on a second. You come on to WagerTalk Today, give out no actionable info, and push everyone to bet on it to get your actionable info. Is that what you just did on our show?
Well, yeah, if you want to get my best bet, you have to come over to my show to find it. It's always at the end. You don't have to, or you can just wait till it's posted.
Okay. There you guys go.
Yeah, see, Kelly,
go listen to bet on it.
As Teddy would say, had Prez followed the order and thrown it to me, I would have pointed out some actionable info that you threw out. First of all, you threw out the fact that Brett is a glutton for punishment because he has watched the Houston game this year. You're not dumb, by the way, for not doing so. I've watched very little Houston as well, and that's because, as you know, they play extremely slow. They muck it up, ugly style. And by the way, Baylor and Gonzaga were supposed to play this year. That game got canceled. It would have been the best game of the season. But I really think Houston still could be the team that could give Gonzaga problems. That's a big could just because they slow things down. I know you're looking at KenPom. I think he has this as like a half point and the line's 5. I don't want you to get into your best bet because I want people to watch bet on it. But Houston, something I want to point out, Kelly, Houston has been under the radar all season. ESPN had 38 experts fill out a bracket when the tournament started, all their analysts, hosts, college basketball guys. None of the 38 had them even in the Final Four, let alone winning it. Not even in the Final Four of those 38 brackets. So do you look at that, Andy, when you're handicapping? Do you look at kind of the contrarian angle here like you do with the NFL, with the college tournament?
Well, I never thought of myself as a contrarian bettor until my co-host on the Kelly and Murray podcast pointed it out to me. He goes, "What do you mean? You're the ultimate contrarian." And he's probably correct. So yes, that is an angle I'm looking at here, but you mentioned the tempo, and that's exactly what I was going to get into on Bet on It. This is a Houston team that I think has the ability to kind of take Baylor off their game. And that's why the total does concern me. I'm not going to rush to the window. I lean towards the over, as Prez mentioned. But man, these unders, we all know last night, several of those late games started to trickle back, and without overtime, everybody was cheering, please overtime, just so they could get those overs. There was a couple of unders I did have that were losing tickets because of overtime this year. I think the bookmakers know they're going to get one-sided action here, and that's going to be on the over. So if you like the over, I would suggest betting it now. Do not wait until Saturday.
Yeah, and Prez does like the over as well. Kelly, this Gonzaga game is really interesting. Gonzaga has covered, it's minus 14. Gonzaga has covered the number of 14 in every single game in this tournament. 85-66, 83-65, 87-71, 98 to 55. It's absolutely it's been a dominant performance. They are staring history in the face. 4 teams have made it undefeated to this spot. 3 of them lost in the semis, 1 in the finals. I don't know how you can take UCLA here. One of the things that I know is, look, UCLA, I mean, this is a Cinderella story of epic proportion. I mean, imagine if Cinderella lost her legs and arms. That's how much of a Cinderella story this is. But what we know is when it ends badly. I can't take minus 14, but there's no way I'm taking UCLA either. Kel?
Take UCLA. What are you thinking? We just spoke about it. This is the ultimate contrarian play. I did take a little bit with UCLA last night at 14 because I did think that we would see some money come in on the underdog. And I think everybody else kind of has this different opinion than I do, and they're waiting to see how high Gonzaga is going to get bet up. This line should be like 11. Look, we just spoke about tempo and possession length, and UCLA is the exact opposite of Gonzaga. They've got to step up on the defensive side of the ball. I know their defense is lacking of sorts, at least at these Final Four teams. But I think that if they can slow down the tempo here, they can keep it within single digits. I think this is way too many points. Mick Cronin is got to coach his ass off in order to win this game. I don't think that's going to happen. I don't think it's worth a money line sprinkle. But if you just look at these two teams in regards to possession length and average tempo, they are mirror images of one another. And the number one offense is tough to go against. And it scares me. And that's why I had to take the 14 with UCLA. I said, look, I think that this team has potential to keep it within single digits. And of course, Gonzaga's been blowing teams out. So why wouldn't everybody want to keep riding this Gonzaga train?
Yeah, Kelly, I was doing a live last night on Channel 204 Sirius XM with our friends at Sports Grid with Joe Ranieri's roommate, Gabe Morency. And as we were doing it, this line was coming out. Gabe was sulking from his Michigan loss. But the line opened 13 and quickly went to 14. So it did initially jump from 13 to 14. So we'll see if we get some of that buyback like you're talking about. I was about to pull a Teddy moment and jump on you when you said this line should only be 11, because I was going to say, look, they just were 15 against Oklahoma, a higher seed. They were 12 and a half Creighton, a higher seed. They just blew out
Steve,
USC.
let's be honest.
No, I know, but
UCLA should have never been an 11 seed. Look, bottom line, they were underseeded. They were under-respected. This was not a UCLA team that is the traditional 4 seed or 2 seed that we see in this tournament. This was a down year for this team. I think that's where we saw the issue. Granted, they were down at half to Michigan State in the play-in game. I just think that this team's trajectory has been incredible the last few weeks. And it's one of those teams you want to ride. Look, Oregon State the other night, I leaned Houston. I said, look, Oregon State at some point in time, as Prez mentioned, with some of these Cinderella type teams, they're going to run out of gas. And I said, man, I just can't. I've been betting this Oregon State team this whole time. I cannot go against them. And sure enough, what happened? Late bucket, Oregon State backers get the cover. And I'm going, I would have lost my mind had I laid the points with Houston.
I'll tell you.
Prez, let me ask you real quick. Let me ask you real quick, if I can. So, Kelly, what I was going to say, though, is I think your logic, as you said, is it is lower because they're a slow down team, and UCLA plays extremely slow like Houston. So I do think the point spread probably should be lower for that reason. But let me ask you, do you have to like UCLA and the under? Is it almost a correlated parlay in this game? I mean, because I don't see a situation where this game soars over the total and UCLA is able to run with Gonzaga. I mean, would you agree?
I actually just pulled up the WagerTalk odds screen. This one's already ticked down just a little bit. So I'm guessing the market agrees with you there, at least the sharp market that's betting early on this week. Because you're right, I do think that is going to be a correlation. If UCLA can cover, it's because they're going to be able to slow down that Gonzaga offense. Now, I think this line's also a little inflated because of the numbers that Prez had already kind of put out there. This is a Gonzaga powerhouse offense, and not many teams have been able to slow it down. I think BYU was the closest one. I'd have to pull it up. And that was, 5 games ago, and they lost by 10. Then there's a type of team like no, they lost by 10, 88-78.
Yeah, it was 10, but it was 166 points still. Like you said, it still went over the total. Yeah.
Flying over the total. Oklahoma flying over the total. Look, it was until USC couldn't pick it up. USC couldn't do anything. So they weren't able to hold up their end of the deal where the Zags were still in the mid-80s. So those type of scenarios, we'll see. UCLA has got to score more than 51 points if they want to even be in the same gym as Gonzaga. And that is a fear of mine. But like I said, I bet the number in hopes that it would go the other way. We'll see. I may end up getting off of it by the end of the week, but I do think UCLA has the opportunity to keep this within single digits.
Yeah, Kel, great take. Just looking at this game quickly from an in-game betting perspective, one of the things that you mentioned, which I agree with 100%, is just the opposite style and pace that these two teams have. Gonzaga is running the floor up and down. They're scoring almost at will. I feel like if Gonzaga can get rolling early and they force UCLA to start playing at a higher pace to come back into the game, I think that's when the blowout is going to happen. So I actually think people should maybe wait, because I can't bet Gonzaga minus 14, and I am not going to get in their way. I think you guys should just watch and see who is dictating the pace of this game. And if the pace is Gonzaga's, this game is going to be a blowout. Any thoughts?
No, you nailed it, Prez. If this pace is Gonzaga's, it's going to be a blowout. USC gave them the playbook last night. Right. If Mick Cronin is smart at all, he's going to show his guys the USC game over and over and over. Gonzaga, I think I turned it off like in the middle of the second half because they were getting such easy buckets. It wasn't even enjoyable to watch. It was almost like cringeworthy, like embarrassing for the Trojans. So for me, I think you're absolutely right. There's going to be some in-game opportunities in regards to the total as well. If UCLA plays like they did yesterday and keeps it tough in the first half, maybe start looking towards the second half where Gonzaga's able to pull away, maybe a second half over, kind of one of those type of scenarios. But for me, you nailed it. I do think that there is potential blowout anytime when you have an offense like Gonzaga. And if they're able to stifle the Bruins at all, it's game over, just like it was last game.
Kelly Stewart, everybody. Kelly, you rocked. I just want to end the segment with two things. One, if Gabe Morency had a roommate, he'd never sleep. The roommate would never sleep because Gabe would literally be talking all night long.
He was also a heavy metal singer, don't forget, in his past. So that would not help as well.
That's true. He loves like Pantera or, that kind of.
Yeah.
That sounds like Prez music. Don't you listen to that kind of stuff? Prez, you listen to that.
No, Kelly,
like
I don't listen to heavy metal.
Full hard rock.
You listen to Three's Company theme music.
No. I listen to 70s sitcom tunes. Kelly, my favorite band is Pink Floyd, Grateful Dead, Neil Young,
smoking
Allman
weed
Brothers,
music. I forget that.
Leonard
See, I
Skinner.
didn't get into that in college because I was too busy drinking and wanted to listen to what are those terrible?
And you're too young.
Songs?
You weren't in college yet, Kelly. You weren't in college yet, too.
Yeah, exactly. You're too young for all of that. Guys, Kelly's got some monster news coming, but we can't tell you what it is. I know, so I'm so proud of you, Kel. Get the hell out of here. We're gonna take a. Hey, you know what?
No secrets among friends.
Get out of my
Morency would never do that to Joe. He would never do that.
Oh my God. It's like there's 3 Teddies on this show with me. 2 of you and Joe in my freaking ear. We're taking a quick break, everybody. Meryl, be quiet. We're taking a quick break, everybody. Kelly, thanks for joining us. Steve's Big Game Breakdown and Arthur DiCesare up in 20 seconds.
Lock in all sports, all plays, all 5% best bets for the next 30 days from your favorite WagerTalk handicapper for only $1.99 versus the regular price of $3.49 for a total savings of $1.50. Prices are already discounted across the board and no coupon is required. Just head over to WagerTalk.com, pick your favorite handicapper in the experts menu, and lock them in for 30 days across all sports for only $1.99.
It is time for the big game breakdown here on Wager Talk Today for Wednesday, March 31st, last day of March. And as you saw, that was last night's big game breakdown. I gave you the Nuggets here, minus the 5. I said, hey, maybe look at them in game if they're trailing. Well, that wasn't the case. They were up by 22 after the first quarter. Ended up winning by 9, though. And one of the things I mentioned in that game, guys, was that it was a East versus West, 2 playoff contenders. I thought the Nuggets would bring it at home. Same angle tonight as I'm going to look at the late ESPN game at 10 p.m. Eastern tonight on Wednesday. Milwaukee against the Lakers, but this time I'm going to play against the Western Conference home team because I don't think they're going to be capable of bringing it, and that's the LA Lakers. Milwaukee, minus 8.5 here. And look, if this was a full-strength Lakers team, they'd be a 4-5 point favorite maybe. So we're talking about a 12 to 13-point line adjustment, but it still might not be enough with LeBron and Anthony Davis out of the lineup. These guys score over 60-some points combined. If you look at the next guy on the list, it's Dennis Schroeder, who's at 14 points a game. That's the new leader of this Lakers team. So you can make an argument this is as bad as any team in the league right now. They're just going through the motions. They're just waiting for the postseason. Luckily enough, they had a big enough cushion that they're going to still make it, although their seeding is taking a hit daily. But the bigger focus, the bigger key for me here in this game is, which Milwaukee Bucks team shows up? Is it the team that just lost to the Clippers? Is it a team that's now, lost 3 straight against Boston, New York, and the Clippers? Or more importantly, is it a team that had won 13 out of 14 before that? I think it's the previous Bucks squad. They're healthy here. They're getting healthier. And this is a focus spot. And it might be a shorthanded Lakers team, but it's still the defending world champs. And off of 3 straight losses, I've got no problem backing the Milwaukee Bucks tonight. Complete opposite angle. Last night we took the Nuggets, a Western Conference team, at home against the East. We're going to do the opposite here. We're going to take the road Eastern team here, Milwaukee, against the West. And once again, this is not your Lakers squad. And don't be fooled by the fact they're all back-to-back wins. Those came against Cleveland and Orlando. They had lost 4 straight up and against the spread the previous 4 games against Philly. By the way, they lost that by 8 at home. Line is 8.5 tonight. I think Milwaukee's a better team. They lost by 5 at home to Atlanta. Milwaukee, once again, a better team by more than a basket. And then they lost on the road at Phoenix and New Orleans by double digits in between. I think that's a more accurate barometer of where this Laker franchise is right now without LeBron and Anthony Davis. And I think Milwaukee will bring their A game tonight. Milwaukee Bucks minus 8.5 is worth a look on ESPN at 10 p.m. Eastern tonight on Wednesday. That's your big game breakdown. Now back to Prez for some more excitement.
Why, thank you, Steve Merrill. Guys, hit that like button, please. Over 200 of you watching, only 40 likes. We really need the help on that. Steve Merrill, I think you're bringing your A game, dude. We both found out you were hosting the show around 1 a.m. last night.
Well, luckily I don't go to bed about 3 or 4 a.m. As you know. It's tougher for me to get up for this show than to be prepared the night before, as you know, Prez. So that works. And people think I'm probably in Vegas, and I'm not even on Vegas time. I'm on Hawaiian time, and with the daylight savings, it's a little more accurate now. So it worked out. Hey, thanks for having me, man. I always enjoy filling in for you or Teddy as needed. It's a great show, and I appreciate being here.
Awesome stuff. Well, I got to tell you, Steve, you're going to be very impressed with the next guest. I mean, this is just a handsome dude. I don't know what else to say. That's it. Forget sports or betting or the fact that he's a sportsbook director at the LINQ. He's just handsome. Arthur DiCesare. How are you, my friend?
Arthur.
Good morning. Prez, you always give me the best introductions, man. I love it.
Arthur, what can I tell you, man? Your wife called this morning and she said, man, Arthur's in the dumps. He thinks he's getting old. Wrinkles are showing up on his forehead. I'm like, I got you. I got you, Belinda. I just made up the name of your wife.
I was going to say, he actually knows your wife's name, but now it turns out he doesn't. So,
can you imagine if I'm right?
Yeah, Belinda,
okay,
you're probably not right. I'll take the other side.
Let's clear everything. I don't have any wife. There's no Belinda. Yeah. I'm a single man working the strip, doing my thing. So let's not get crazy here.
But there could be a Belinda in your future.
Yeah, Belinda, if you're out there, Arthur DiCesare will be at the LINQ tonight. And Art, I'll pay.
This is going downhill fast. I bet, as Teddy would do, I'm going to take over before we have some kind of lawsuit by the LINQ. And as Teddy would also say, you can find Arthur at the fabulous LINQ on the Las Vegas Strip. And if you play your cards right, Arthur, there might be a Belinda in your future. Let's leave it at that. Let me ask you, if you are down in the dumps, is it because of last night? I would think you got some USC, UCLA money from those Californians that stayed in town maybe from the weekend. What kind of action did we see in those games yesterday?
Yeah, absolutely, Steve. Not a bad night for us at all, especially with UCLA and USC, like you said. But, actually there was a lot of Michigan money. I mean, we saw a lot of Michigan stuff tied to parlays, money line parlays. So that, Michigan losing outright was great. It basically blew every parlay up. So all in all, it's been a really good tournament for us. So there's no complaint from our end.
Yeah, let me ask you, looking ahead, let me ask you, before we get to the game Saturday, futures-wise, everyone's like, whenever you see a big upset, they're like, oh, that's killing the books, that's killing the books. Is there much exposure on UCLA? I would think maybe one time. Normally a play-in team wouldn't have much. And if anything, everyone liked Michigan State to be the team to make the run, by the way. And Prez, I forgot to mention this. I went back and looked last night. When they were down by 11 at the half to Michigan State in the play-in game, UCLA had a 17% chance of winning that game. When they were down by 5 with a minute and a half to go against Michigan State, they had an 18% chance. And they've gone on to win 5 straight now. That's how remarkable this run is. But Art, do you have any exposure, or do any of the books have any exposure on UCLA as a long shot? Do they have any exposure on Gonzaga? I think Houston was very underloved, as I mentioned earlier in the market. I would think maybe that's the team they want to win. Baylor, what's this futures looking like on the remaining teams?
Yeah, Steven, you look at it. I mean, yeah, UCLA, sure, you're going to have the California people who here and there will throw a little bit of love on UCLA, but you said it perfectly, man. They were a playing team. I mean, I thought Michigan State was going to beat them. I didn't think UCLA would make it past, day one. So really not a lot of liability on them. Obviously, we've had liability on Gonzaga all year, but, they've been the shortest price. So it's not, like anyone got them at 10 or 15 or 20 to 1. Michigan was 125 to 1 to start the year. So, yeah, if the Zags win, which, I kind of think they're going to, I mean, yeah, we'll have a little bit of liability on them, but not crazy. Houston was definitely undervalued. Not a lot of Houston tickets out there. So, I don't think we're really going to get killed either way. I think Michigan was the big one. Michigan would have really hurt us.
Arthur DiCesare, everybody, the only guy who comes on our show wearing a shirt with his name embroidered directly in. Is that in case you forget?
That's for you, Prez. I have a feeling that's probably more for you.
Yeah. I love it, Arthur. I love it. Art, let's talk about the two upcoming games for the Final Four. I gotta believe that you're taking more tickets on Baylor and on Gonzaga, the two favorites. What's happening now, and where do you think the lines are going to end up?
Yeah, Prez, great question. I think when you look at the Gonzaga game, first of all, game's at 14. Obviously, it opened at 13, so you saw a little bit of movement. Man, 14 is an incredible number. It's an incredible number for a national semifinal game.
Yeah.
I do think some people will buy on the underdog because they'll just look at that number and go, that's way too many points. I don't think people are going to be crazy enough to say, let me get some money line down here on UCLA. I'm with you. I listened to your segment, right before I came on. I don't know how you take UCLA. I just think Gonzaga is a train that cannot be stopped. UCLA better score more than 51 points if they think they're going to win this game. I think the way Gonzaga plays, I understand UCLA is going to try to slow it down, make it ugly. I just think Gonzaga is too good. Personally, for me, I couldn't take the 14. I don't know if I could lay the 14 either, but I do think people will buy some underdog stuff, when you look at 14. I think the Baylor-Houston game, way more interesting. We had it as Baylor -4. It's now Baylor -5. To me, it's Baylor or nothing. I think Baylor has found, I've said this on the show the last couple times, they found their January groove. Baylor is playing like the second best team or the 1A, 1B team. So I think it's Baylor and Gonzaga. I think that's the matchup we deserve. So I love Baylor -5. I think Baylor is going to be too much for Houston. And Houston's kind of coasting in this Final Four. They've had such an easy run. Now they get to play a real team. Baylor is a real team. I love Baylor in the game.
And Arthur, I want to get to some NBA info real quick, but I have to ask you, do you have any feel for what the line might be for the finals? Let's say either Houston or Baylor, mostly Gonzaga, Baylor. And do you guys ever consider putting up advanced lines like that? Are you even allowed to in Nevada? I mean, any regulations against that?
Yeah, we don't have anything like that right now, Steve. And I don't think there'd be anything against that. We could do something like that. I think if we get the game we want, Baylor and Gonzaga, I personally could see Gonzaga -3. That's where I think it would be. I think it'd be tight, right in that range. I do. I really do. I think Baylor is really good. I think Baylor's, like I said, I think they're the 1B team. I think Baylor has started to find their groove. It might be a little bit higher, maybe. I mean, that's personally what I think it would be. Yeah, I could see it being 4, maybe even a little bit higher. But, because Gonzaga, everyone just knows how good they are. They're going to be on this magical run, finish the season out. Listen, if you could get Baylor at 4 or 5 against Gonzaga, I like that. So I personally would set it at 3, but who am I? I'm just a little guy on the strip making some books. So it's that would be my opinion, right? But we'll see though. We'll see. So let's hope we get that game though. But I would say Gonzaga -3.
Steve, I got to jump in because we're running out of time. Sorry, Art. When Kelly gives us her time, we take it. No disrespect to you, my brother. Listen, real quick, Art. One NBA, one NHL bet for tonight. You got something for us?
NBA, no, but I can tell you a couple things that have moved in the NBA. You got the Mavericks, which opened -1. The Mavericks are now +1 against the Celtics. So you've seen some Celtic money. Jazz were -7.5 against the Grizzlies. It's now -5. So you've seen some Grizzly money. And the one NHL bet I do like, Prez, I like Shark Wild. I like the under 5.5. They both kind of played at the over. They've played 4 games this year. 3 of them have went over. I like to go the other way. I'll take the under 5.5. And you've seen some Sabre money because the people are thinking eventually they're going to win. They should have won the other night.
They're due.
They're winning tomorrow. Dude, they lose tomorrow. They set the record for the most losses in history in a row. I think they win tomorrow. I love it. Art, what an outstanding segment. Just amazing stuff. We love having you on the show, guys. Head down to the link. Check Art DiCesare out. Follow him at ArtDice21, one of the best Twitter followers around. Art, we're going straight into the penalty box. If you want to hear some NHL bets, stay around. Otherwise, get the hell out of here, brother.
Thanks, Art. You're live.
6 games. Let's go. Top to bottom. Buffalo plus 165 against Philadelphia. And tonight is the night. I like Buffalo in the spot at plus 165. And hey, I like the over in this game too. It's 6. I'll be betting both of those plays just to let you know. I'm also betting over the total in the Toronto-Winnipeg game. It has come down. It was 6.5 last night. It is now 6. These teams have played each other 4 times this year. All 3 of the last 4 went over the total. And I also think the Leafs over is something to watch for the next couple of weeks as they've gone under more often than not in the last month. And if things are going to revert back to normal. Colorado, Arizona, I like under the total of 5.5 in this game. I am betting that. LA Kings in Vegas, I have no bet. I am staying away from this game. But I would take Vegas in regulation. There's no reason to think the LA Kings can beat this team. San Jose and Minnesota, I'm right there with Art DiCesare. I like under the total. You can even find a 6 on tap, guys. I think this is a 2-1, 3-1 type of a hockey game. And Vancouver and Calgary, I like under the total in this game as well. The Grand Salami, which for all people who don't bet hockey, is the total for all games combined. I like under the total in that. I'm betting all of these plays. Guys, I'm releasing 1 or 2, maybe 3 NHL plays a day, but I am betting many more plays than that. So everything I mentioned, I am betting. Also, check me out on Twitter at Prez WagerTalk. I give out free NHL picks all the time. That is it for the penalty box segment. Steve Merrill, we brought Tokyo Brandon on, and Brandon, it's strange that your parents named you Tokyo, but look, who am I? Welcome to the show.
Thanks. I'm not as pretty as Kelly or as handsome as Arthur, but happy to be here.
Hey, Brandon, there are many people out there that think you are prettier than Kelly and handsomer than Art. There's a whole blind community somewhere on this planet that feels very attracted to you. Guys, I got to tell you, Steve, I don't know if you know what is going on. Tokyo Brandon is a Japanese baseball expert, and the guy, excluding last night, I think you went 4-2 last night, but I don't want to do the math. 52-15 run. That's a 52-15 run. I'm on a 51-19 hockey run. So Brandon is putting me to shame. 52-19, 22-2 run, all in Japanese baseball. And Brandon, I'm going to speak on behalf of Steve and I. Neither of us bet Japanese baseball. Mm-hmm. We don't have a clue about Japanese basebal, but I had no clue about Bitcoin when Bodog started sending it to me. I shouldn't have mentioned a global sports book. Sorry.
Well, they don't go by that anymore, so you don't have to worry.
Yeah, there you go. I don't care whether I know or I don't know. All I want is money. You are the number 1 most profitable expert at WagerTalk in the year 2021. I am so thrilled to have you. You got a promotion for us and a free pick. Let's get into your promotion, and then I'll ask you a couple of quick questions.
Okay, thanks. I'm happy to be here too. Right now, WagerTalk's doing a promotion for me. It's my whole Japanese baseball season. Japanese baseball season runs pretty much the same as MLB. So it runs from March till October. You can get my whole season for $249. It's normally $849.
And no promo code required. Just head over to WagerTalk, grab Tokyo Brandon's, go to his page.
Correct.
$240.
Go to my
for literally
go to my page
money.
and if you just put the 2001 Japanese baseball season in your cart and check out, no coupon code needed.
So how the hell did you get into capping Japanese baseball? You don't look Japanese, but I'm an old man and I need glasses. So how did this come about?
Yeah, I think we're about the same age. I'm 50. So I came to Japan a long time ago, and for about 10 years, I scouted Japanese baseball for an MLB team. And after that, I started capping, and I found out I was better and made more money capping than I did at scouting. So it went from there.
Brandon, I mean, I got to ask you, I don't follow Japanese baseball much. I did watch a little last summer because, Wager Talk started covering it with the Daily Show and there was nothing else going on. And that was Korean baseball, I guess,
right.
Not Japanese baseball. But first of all, is there a big difference between the two? Do you look at Korea? And then also just big picture, how is it different than Major League Baseball? Is it different in your handicapping method? I mean, are you looking a lot at starting pitchers like we do with MLB and other things like that?
Yes. First, to answer your first question, KBO, I do KBO as well. My record is not quite as good in KBO for Korean baseball. The main difference between Korean and Japanese is Japanese baseball, the level is a lot higher. So I would put Japanese baseball a small peg slightly below AAA, whereas KBO is like single A. So that's one big difference. And regarding method of doing Japanese baseball as opposed to MLB, there's a couple of rule changes, like Japanese baseball ends in a tie. It's a lot lower scoring and is a lot more pitch oriented. But the capping method is pretty much the same.
Guys out there, if you do not take advantage of Tokyo Brandon's $249 package, the number one expert at Wager Talk, in profit. If you don't take advantage of it, just write down on a piece of paper, why do I bet?
I agree.
Answer that
You don't want to win.
I mean,
you don't want to win money.
Yeah.
I mean, it's because they want to watch. It's probably because they want to watch the games. I mean, that's all I can figure. I'd rather win money than watch the game, every game I'm betting on it. I mean, it doesn't make any sense.
Steve,
so I'm in Japan,
sorry,
and the
Brandon.
time difference right now, for example, it's 1:30 in the morning right now in Japan. But so the games happen when East Coast people are sleeping, but yeah, you can wake up and count the money. The weekend games actually start at 1 PM here, which is 9 PM in the US. So, the weekend games you can jump on, and I provide links for everyone who buys my picks and buys my plays. I provide links so you can follow the game live if you purchase one of my packages or picks.
Yeah,
and KBO is also included in the 2001 full season special.
Nice.
Oh, you are including Korean baseball as well. Nice.
Correct. All Asian baseball is included.
Prez,
Okay,
how
Brandon,
have we not bought this package?
Yeah.
I'm looking to buy it as we speak right now.
Brandon, the crazy thing is Steve doesn't have all access to the website. I do. So, Steve, it's $249. Head over to wagertalk.com and buy it. Brandon,
Steve,
let's get some action.
You can DM me, Steve.
I don't want to mess up that record.
Hey, Brandon, I want my percentage. Come on. Okay, let's get into some actionable info. Hanshin Tigers. Guys, Hanshin Tigers versus the Hiroshima Carp. I've never known a team being the Carp. That's an interesting name. I don't care.
Yeah.
Who's going to win this game?
So I was going to make this a client play, but since you were nice enough to bring me on the show, I'll make this a free play. Hanshin Tigers at Hiroshima Carp. Akiyama is the starting pitcher for Hanshin, and Nakamura is the starter for Hiroshima. And in 2020, both pitchers pitched really well against the other team, and neither team's really hitting so far this season, even though it's a 5-game sample. So the free play is going to be under 8 or under 7.5 for the Hanshin Tiger and Hiroshima Carp game. The lines are not out yet. They'll probably be out in about 2.5 hours. So when the line comes out, if you see a 7.5 or an 8 for this game, bet the under, because I'm going to bet the under.
Awesome stuff. Tokyo Brandon, everyone, dude, thanks so much for joining us on Wager Talk today. Guys, seriously ask yourself, why do you bet? Do you like watching games more than money? Steve Merrill, I believe that Tokyo Brandon's all access Japanese baseball package should be the most sold package at Wager Talk by far. He is better than me in NHL. He is better than your college basketball season, better than Kyle Anthony's MMA. We're talking about massive, massive profit available to you guys. Tokyo, thanks for joining us. Steve,
thanks for having me.
Take us home, brother.
Yeah, I was going to echo what you just said. I mean, and first of all, it doesn't matter if he's better than your hockey or my college hoops or the M&A, because why not have all of them? They're non-correlated. They have absolutely no outcome on the other wagers. I mean, it's not even debatable. It's a 100% non-correlation, more so than Bitcoin. So, yeah, I mean, it's a no-brainer. Tokyo Brandon, $249, all Korean baseball included for free with that Japanese baseball.
Correct.
Just WagerTalk.com. It's that simple. So thank you, Tokyo Brandon, for being on with us. Thank you, Prez, for having me fill in for Teddy as well. Thank you, Kelly Stewart, for the Final Four breakdown. Thank you for Art Dice 21 on Twitter, Arthur DiCesare from the Links in Las Vegas. And thank you, Joe Ranieri in the studio. And, of course, thank all of you for watching. Forgot to mention yesterday, comment below here on YouTube. Prez and I both read the comments. We interact. Give us a thumbs up. We hit 70,000 subscribers over the weekend. Let's make it 71,000 next week. Let's make it 100,000 here. Please tell your friends, subscribe. And more importantly, tune in tomorrow, Thursday, right here in 23 hours and 11 minutes for more Wager Talk Today on Wager Talk TV. Have a great evening.
Are you ready for baseball? The 2021 MLB regular season begins on April 1st and goes all the way through the World Series in November, giving fans over 200 days of baseball action. To help you have a profitable baseball season, WagerTalk has taken our top 2 handicappers and combined them in an amazing combo deal. The number 1 MLB overall all-time is Brian Leonard, and the number 1 MLB totals all-time is Dwayne Bryant. MLB through the World Series is priced at $10.95 per handicapper. $8.95 for early bird pricing, but right now you can lock in the number 1 MLB all-time overall and number 1 MLB all-time totals handicapper for the price of 1. Lock in both Brian Leonard and Dwayne Bryant's baseball selections through the World Series in November for only $8.95.